Good evening from New York. This is Friday, October 22nd, 11 days until the 2010 midterm elections. And today, the perverse exemplar of the outsized Supreme Court-enabled corruption in this election cycle. Super PACs spending unlimited sums from secret donors, even when that donor is just one man. In our fifth story, Pac-Man and the corporate equivalency of that. The New York Times expose of how big insurance, big finance, and big oil shovels money to the Chamber of Commerce for the obvious advocacy that the U.S. Chamber of Commerce executes so well. First, the brand new and stark example in the Nevada Senate race. The super PAC calling itself Ending Spending Fund. It has spent nearly $600,000 against Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. That super PAC is the political arm of a nonprofit group called Taxpayers Against Earmarks. But Taxpayers Against Earmarks is actually just one taxpayer, according to Amanda Turkle of the Huffington Post. It's this guy, Joe Ricketts, the founder and former chairman of Ameritrade and part of the new ownership of the Chicago Cubs. Mr. Ricketts is the sole donor to the Ending Spending Fund, and he would and could be a secret donor if not for the fact that he voluntarily disclosed his identity. To put this in further perspective, under the law, an individual such as Mr. Ricketts may contribute only $2,400 per election to a candidate or his campaign committee. An individual may donate about twice that amount, $5,000, to a traditional political action committee, a PAC. Those PACs, which in today's world now seem quaint, must disclose their donors. And an individual can donate $30,400 to a national party committee. But an individual's contribution to a super PAC, no limit. As for the other prime player in this election cycle and the practical equivalency of the super PAC, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. There's more clarity now about how a single corporation can secretly donate money to buy the political advertising it wants and needs. Again, the stark example that represents the rule, this one from the New York Times expose. Prudential Financial, a $2 million donation to the Chamber last year, just as the Chamber was launching a national advertising campaign, as well as extensive lobbying in Congress against Wall Street reform. A Prudential spokesman telling the New York Times that the donation was not earmarked for a specific issue. Of course it wasn't. Earmarking the money would violate the law, and earmarking the money does not seem to be necessary. Dow Chemical last year shoveling $1,700,000 to the chamber as the group fought proposals for tighter security at chemical plants. Goldman Sachs, Chevron Texaco, Aegon, a multinational insurance company based in the Netherlands. They contributed more than $8 million in recent years to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Again, all this would be secret if not for the investigative reporting of the Times. There is no legal duty to disclose any of this. Last night, we asked House Speaker Nancy Pelosi about this issue.
It's a bigger issue. It's about our democracy. And they give new meaning to the term buy American. They want to buy these elections. So elections are always about the future. You know that, Keith, about what is our vision for taking America forward. As the president said, we're going forward, we're not going back, we're fighting for the middle class. This election is also about our democracy. If they win, which I fully intend to stop them from doing, but if they were to win, it would mean that we are now a plutocracy, an oligarchy. Whatever these few wealthy, secret, unlimited sources of money are, can control our entire agenda.
I'm joined now by Jim Rutenberg, political correspondent of the New York Times and one of those who reported the extraordinary U.S. Chamber of Commerce stories. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. I have to correct you, though. It was my colleagues, Mike McIntyre, Don Van Natta, and Eric Lipton.
Okay. The money's not earmarked. Explain, though, how successfully and how carefully the Chamber takes up political battles that corporations do not want to be seen as fighting openly.
Well, what the story showed is that the money came in. You showed it Prudential, $2 million, right when the Chamber is going to start going after the financial reform package. So maybe the money wasn't earmarked. They say it wasn't, and we have no evidence to doubt that. But, you know, I guess people can draw their own conclusions.
If it's coming from a chemical company, it might have something to do. They might have some interest in having it go to a chemical issue, and it would be simply assumed. You wouldn't even have to say anything that would make it illegal. That's part of the intricacy of the thing, correct?
Right. We report, you decide. But, you know, there is a, you know, people can try to connect some dots. It's hard because you often don't know who's behind this money, as you've pointed out.
The examples that we have are from recent years. Do we know that that's the template for what's going on now, or is that just to be assumed?
I don't know. Right now, there's so much money coming in, and they are pinpointing races. It's really hard to say. One would have to think, or would want to think, that the money's earmarked. They say it isn't. So we just don't know, and we'll perhaps never know.
This was not from your paper's reporting, but we cited this example from the Nevada race, the super PAC, the one man, the man who is his own super political action committee. How does that and the super PAC idea generally compare to the dynamics of the political activity of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce?
Well, again, to me, it's interesting that there are some of these people who will come out and say, I'm giving a lot of money. We had Bob Perry, builder out of Texas, make it clear that he has given $7 million to some of these efforts. And that's just with American Crossroads, which is the group most commonly associated with Karl Rove, who's helped them form and fundraise.
Do you think in terms of information that might be available on this subject that we're at the tip of the iceberg, or did your colleagues pretty much mine this mine?
You know, again, because it's so dark, who knows? But I feel like we're at the tip. I feel like there's so much we just don't know.
And the way the law has been structured, the way it has been reinterpreted by the Supreme Court in Citizens United, there's no easy route to get this information. There's nothing other than going essentially through back filings of taxes, correct?
That's right. And you know, the interesting thing is, if Congress changes hands, then there's a congressional, as you probably talk about on the show all the time, the Disclose Act. There's some legislation that would make companies have to say what they're doing. If the Congress is in Republican hands, that will not come to be, I'm sure. I mean, it couldn't come to be this time around. So.
And I would assume even if it were to somehow get to the floor, if the Democrats retain the House, there'd be this huge campaign against the Disclose Act with funding provided by people who don't have to disclose anything, correct?
That would make sense, for sure. So I don't know, but it gives us reporters a lot to do and a lot to work with.
I believe the old instructions from our youths was follow the money. Jim Rutenberg of the New York Times, great thanks for yours tonight.
If only it were that easy, but thanks.